Welcome to ECA Prelims Test Series 2015. The test series will have 33 tests comprising of 25 general studies plus 8 CSAT tests, including 2 full-length free sample tests. Test will be conducted in online mode with advanced features like All India ranking and section-wise analysis. Questions can also be downloaded in PDF format. The test will be enabled as per the schedule and subscribers can take the test as per their convenience. For more details on test schedule, syllabus, offers and payments, visit www.ecurrentaffairs.in or www.pttest.ecurrentaffairs.in. Welcome to eCurrent Affairs Prelims Test Series 2015. In this session, let us see the video answer explanation for economy part of sample full test. The first question in today's economy session is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is related to which of the following? The statements given are establishing 100 smart cities across the country. Statement 2, increasing country's manufacturing sector by promoting foreign direct investment. Statement 3, cleanliness drive initiated by the government. Statement 4, financial inclusion with the objective of covering all households in the country with banking facilities. So the right answer is option 4, because Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana is an ambitious project implemented by the Government of India to ensure financial inclusion to all the households in the country. Apart from this, all these 100 smart cities, increasing country's manufacturing sector by promoting foreign direct investment, cleanliness drive, they are also recent initiatives, but they are not related to Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana. And hence option 4 is the right answer for the first question. Second question, stagflation refers to statement 1, sustained increase in general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. Option 2, persistent high inflation combined with high unemployment and stagnant demand in a country's economy. Statement 3, sustained decrease in general price level of goods and services in an economy. Option 4, monetary inflation occurring at a very high rate. So before deciding the answer, let us see basic details about stagflation and then let us decide which is the right answer. From the explanation, it is given sustained increase in general price level is called inflation. So inflation is just sustained increase in price level over a period of time. So similarly, sustained decrease of general price level over a period of time is called as deflation. The third one is monetary inflation occurring at a very high rate. Suppose inflation is happening at a very high rate, then it would be called as hyperinflation. And the fourth criteria is inflation, which is coupled with high unemployment and with stagnant demand in an economy, then it would be called as stagflation. With this basic details, let us go to the question again. So stagflation refers to, from the given option, sustained decrease or persistent, the right answer would be persistent high inflation combined with high unemployment and stagnant demand. So this is the right answer for this question. Let us move to the third question. Consider the following. Statement A, nationalization of banks. B, lead bank scheme. C, formation of self-help groups. 4, introduction of priority sector lending. Which of the above initiatives taken by the Government of India is or aimed at financial inclusion? So which of the above given are aimed at financial inclusion? So let us go to the explanation and see basic details before answering this question. So the government has introduced various initiatives along with the help of RBI in order to ensure financial inclusion. So some of the initiatives taken by the government include nationalization of banks, expansion of bank branch networks, establishment and expansion of cooperative banks and RRBs, introduction of priority sector lending, lead bank scheme, etc. So these are the steps taken by joint effort of RBI and Government of India to improve financial inclusion in the country. So again going back to the question, It is given nationalization of banks. Yes, it is an effort taken by Government of India. Lead bank scheme. Yes, it is also an effort taken by Government of India. Formation of self-help groups is there. Introduction of priority sector lending. So all these are efforts taken by the government in order to improve financial inclusion in the country, and hence the right option would be all of the above. The next question is, which of the below are targets set under the ambitious Make in India campaign launched by the Government of India recently? You will all be aware of this Make in India campaign by the Government of India, which had been launched recently. So what are the objectives of this Make in India campaign? That is basically what is being asked in this question. In statement A, it is given to increase the manufacturing sector growth to 12 to 14% per annum in the medium term. The statement is true, and this is the medium term target of the Government of India under Make in India campaign. Statement B, to increase the share of manufacturing sector in the country's gross domestic product from 16 to 25% by 2022. 16 to 25 by 2022. This is also a target of Make in India campaign. The last statement is to create 100 million additional jobs by 2022 in manufacturing sector. This is also true. This is also an ambitious target to create 100 million additional jobs by 2022. So you will have to select the correct answer. So since all the three are correct, the right answer would be all of the above. The next question is, consider the following statements with respect to foreign direct investment (FDI) and foreign institutional investors related to investment in the country. Statement A. So basically it is related to foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investors. So statement A, FII is considered to be more stable than FDI. Is this statement true? FII is usually considered to be more volatile because it doesn't have a lock-in period. Rather, FDI has a lock-in period. So FDI is usually considered to be more stable. So this statement is wrong because it is telling that FII is considered to be more stable than FDI. Statement B, FDI is direct investment while FII investment happens in a secondary market. The statement is true because FDI is a direct form of investment and FII usually takes place in the share markets, bonds and other secondary markets. Both FDI and FII make capital availability in the country. This statement is true because both FDI and FII increase the capital availability in the country. So which of the statements given above is or true? Since A is wrong, the right option would be B and C only. So this would be the right answer for this question. Let us move to the next question. Devaluing of domestic currency can help in. Devaluing of domestic currency can help in. The options given are import, export, both import and export, none of the above. So before answering this question, let us see some basic details. Devaluing of a domestic currency will help exports. According to the explanation, devaluing of a currency will help in export. But how? Let us take China as an example. China artificially devalues its domestic currency. But why does China artificially devalues its domestic currency? China is basically an export-led economy, and hence artificially devaluing its currency will help it having a positive balance of trade between its trading partners. So China is an export-led economy, and artificially devaluing its currencies will help in having a positive balance of payment with its trading partners. So it is a typical example, and it clarifies that devaluing of domestic currency will help in exports. The next question in today's session is, consider the following statements with respect to current account deficit. Statement A, if export is greater than import, current account deficit will arise. I would like to repeat statement A, if export is greater than import, current account deficit will arise. This statement is wrong because usually when import is greater than export, then it will lead to current account deficit. If export is more, it is better for a country and it will reduce the current account deficit. Statement B, devaluing of domestic currency can help in reducing current account deficit. This statement is true because devaluing of a domestic currency will help in exports, and more is the export, less will be the current account deficit, and hence this statement is true. So the question is, which of the statement given above is or true, and hence it would be option B only. Next question in today's session, external commercial borrowings ECBs refer to. The statements, the options given are device in the hands of RBI to augment additional resources. Option 2, device in the hands of commercial banks to augment additional revenues to meet the demand requirements by corporates. Statement 3, device by which Indian corporates can augment additional sources of finance in addition to finance available domestically to meet their needs. Option 4, all of the above. Let us see explanation before answering this question. So this explanation tells you what is external commercial borrowing. External commercial borrowings are being permitted by Government of India as an additional source of finance to augment the resources available domestically to Indian corporates for financing imports of capital goods, new projects, modernization, expansion and existing production units. So with this basic information, let us go back to the question. So with the information, the most appropriate answer would be, it is a device by which Indian corporates can augment additional source of finance in addition to finance available domestically to meet their needs. So the next question is, which India is not a member of which of the following constituent organization of the World Bank Group? The options given are International Finance Corporation, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, International Developmental Association, International Center for Settlement and Investment Disputes. So the question is, India is not a member of which of the following constituent organization. Let us see certain basic details before answering this question. India is a member of 4 of the 5 constituents of World Bank Group, which means that World Bank has 5 groups and India is a member of 4 of these 5 of the World Bank Group. And the second statement tells, however, India is not a member of International Center for Settlement and Investment Dispute, ICSID. India is not a member of ICSID. So with this information, if you go back to the question, so India is a member of International Finance Corporation, it is true. India is a member of Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, it is also true. India is a member of International Developmental Association, it is also true. International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute, India is not a member of this, and hence this would be the wrong answer, and hence option 4 is the right answer. The next question is, consider the following with respect to Banking Ombudsman in India. The statements given are, Banking Ombudsman is an independent body with legal powers to settle disputes quickly and inexpensively. This statement is true. That is the main objective behind appointing Banking Ombudsman, in order to settle the disputes quickly and inexpensively. Statement B, RBI appoints Banking Ombudsmen all over the country. Yes, this is also true because it is RBI who appoints the Banking Ombudsman all over the country. Banking Ombudsman scheme is operational from 1969, that is since nationalization of banks. Is this statement true? Let us go and check some details before answering this statement. It is given that Banking Ombudsman scheme is operational since 1995, and it is not since 1969, but it is from 1995. And Banking Ombudsman is an independent body with legal powers to settle disputes quickly, and RBI has appointed 15 Banking Ombudsmen all over the country. So it is clear that the first 2 statements are true, and regarding the third statement, it is not 1969 but it is rather 1995 when the Banking Ombudsman has been appointed by the RBI. So the correct answer is A and B only. So the correct answer would be A and B only, since C is wrong. The next question is, consider the following statements with regard to free trade. The statements given are, free trade protects domestic industries. Free trade leads to maximization of output, income and employment. Statement C, free trade prevents monopoly. Let us go and see the explanation before answering the question. And the explanation tells, free trade increases the competition to domestic industries. This is true because once a country signs free trade with other countries, that would enable the other countries to have trade with the country, and the corporates and companies in other countries can also compete with the domestic industries. So free trade usually increases the competition, and hence the domestic industries are at greater risk, because whenever the competition increases, then it is the domestic countries who also have to increase their technology, manpower, and naturally it will increase the competition and they will be at a greater risk. However, it avoids monopoly. This is the good part about free trade agreement. It avoids monopoly and leads to maximization of output, income, and employment. So with this information, we'll go back to the question again. So statement A tells, free trade protects domestic industries. No, free trade does not protect domestic industries, but rather it increases competition. Statement B, free trade leads to maximization of output, income, and employment. This is true. And statement C, free trade prevents monopoly. This is also true. Which of the statement is or not true? Only statement A is not true, and hence the right option would be A only. The next question is, which of the following are components of foreign capital? A, external commercial borrowing. B, foreign direct investment. C, foreign institutional investment. D, deposit from non-residents. So in the explanation, first let us see which are all part of foreign capital. It is clear that external commercial borrowing, FDI, portfolio investments, non-resident deposits, intergovernmental grants, these are all part of foreign capital to a particular country. So going back to the question, the right answer would be all of the above, since all are part of foreign capital. The next question is, today's question is, Lorentz curve shows the relationship between 1. Inflation and growth. 2. Supply side constraints and inflation. 3. Population groups and respective income shares, unemployment and economic growth. The question is Lorentz curve. So Lorentz curve is basically a relationship between which of the following? So this is how Lorentz curve appear. On the y-axis you can see percentage of income, and on the x-axis you can see percentage of population. So basically Lorentz curve is a curve that compares the income and the population. That is the income in terms of different population. So this is a perfect equality line, and when the income is unequal and you get a Lorentz curve like this. So let us go back to the question. So Lorentz curve is basically population groups and their respective income shares. That would be the right answer. The next question in today's session, disguised unemployment generally exists in. Disguised unemployment generally exists in services sector, manufacturing sector, agricultural sector, all of the above. Before answering the question, let us see what is disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment refers to a situation in which work has a job but whose productivity is low or zero. Usually, such a scenario exists only in agricultural sector, where it appears as if a person is working but his productivity might be low or zero. So the right answer for this question is agricultural sector. So that is all in today's video answer explanation session in economy part. Thank you for listening to this video answer explanation. All the best for your preparation. Thank you.